Welcome back. Let's go ahead and talk about class and class inheritance. For this section, we're going to go ahead and use our test object and turn this into a parent object, and then create two child objects after that to kind of represent what we'll be using in our little test game, essentially. So let's go ahead and click on our test object in the editor. And if you want to, if you forget where it is in your folder, you could press Control and B as in boy and open that, and it'll bring us right to where our test object is. Go ahead and double click and open it up. We don't need our print string here anymore, so let's go ahead and delete this. We could go ahead and keep our name variable, and let's take a look at the viewport. Okay, awesome. We have our cube. Let's add a collision to this. Let's add a sphere collision. And what we'll do is increase this radius to kind of be a little bit bigger. Let's make it an even number because I'm picky about that. And we're going to be using this for like a pickup object, essentially. So if it's a coin, we'll change it to a coin. If it's a key card, we could change it to a key card or a key. And this is just an example of what it is. So our name here still remains as QB. Perfect. And let's go ahead and add some functionality here to our sphere. So if we click down here, we could say on component begin overlap. And again, we're mentioning events here. So let's go ahead and print string and say overlapped. But first, what we need to do is make sure that this is our player, because if we went ahead and did this, while it may say overlapped, what happens if I'm fighting an enemy and an enemy runs into our coin? Does the enemy collect a coin? Probably, and I don't want the enemy to collect the coin. And if the if the enemy doesn't have an inventory, then we're going to get a fatal error. Unreal Engine's going to crash, and everyone's going to hate you. Just kidding, but your players will. Another example is, if something falls into that object or that object moves, I just want some secured functionality so I'm not breaking things. All right, so let's go ahead and make sure that the other actor is our player. So we'll drag off this pin and we'll search for our first person character. What this is doing is saying, hey, is the other actor our first person character? If it is, let's go ahead and continue with our print string. And if it's not, we're just going to go ahead and exit the code and do nothing. After we print string, we're going to go ahead and destroy our actor here. And let's go ahead and give this a try. Overlapped, actor destroyed, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and make a child actor of these and get moving with what we want to do. Let's go ahead and open up our content browser. We'll find our test object. We'll right click and we're going to go ahead and do create child blueprint class. We're going to name this BP. We'll call this coin. And just for the sake of argument, we'll rename this. I'm hitting F2, BP master. You could call that parent, master, whatever you want to do. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and close out master. Go back in here and open up coin. For the cube, I'm going to change this to a cylinder. And I'm going to go ahead and change some things about the cylinder. I'll probably rotate it 90 degrees here. I'll do this as 0.2. Actually, we'll leave that as 1. We'll do this as 0.2. Nope, leave that as 1. This one is 0.2. There we go. I'm just trying to get a coin to resemble here. Another thing that we could do, though, is we could just add something really cool to make sure that this looks like a coin. Let's go ahead and add a component. We're going to call this a rotating movement. You can adjust the settings here if you'd like to. That's fine. I'm just going to keep the rotation rate the same. And then what we could do just to test it out is place it into our world. Awesome. Hit play. And we'll see our coin rotating along the z-axis. Awesome. So now that we have our child actor here, let's go ahead and click this button, this little cog next to my blueprint, and say show inherited variables. What that's going to do is give us the components of our parent class, but then also the name that I'm looking for. So the name, instead of QB, we're going to call this coin. Compile and save to save our changes. And let's add a variable here, and we're going to call this coin value. And we're going to go ahead and change this to an integer. Compile and save again. Awesome. I went ahead and deleted all the nodes off of the top here because we don't need them. But if we click on the coin and scroll down on the bottom right, we can go ahead and do on actor begin overlap. Let's try that again because that might not be the right one. Oops, yep, it was sphere collision. On component begin overlap. Perfect. I don't want to set things to a timer to event. There are uses for that, but it's a little complex of what we're doing. So if you remember, we have our master. We're going to go ahead and cast to our first person character. We're going to go ahead and do a print string. And this time we're going to do coin collected. And what we could do here is afterward destroy actor. And let's append this actually, so we can get our value in here. Learn a few things. So we'll go ahead and call this coins collected. And then in here, we're just going to take in our coin value and plug it in. Now, what do we want our initial coin value to be? Let's go ahead and set it to 0. That's fine. But what if I want multiple coins and I want these to have different values? So let's go ahead and Alt click and add a few more. If you noticed here, we have our named coin, but we don't really see anything else about this. So let's go ahead and go back to our coin here and click our eyeball for instance editable. Go ahead and hit save. So now when I click on this, I could see the coin value. I could change this to 5. I can make this 15. I could do this one as 20. I come back here to the coin, and when I hit save and then play, every time I run over one of these coins, it should say coin collected. 15 and 20. Perfect. So this is just a really fast example of what class inheritance is. We just shared the variable. We can, override our functions here. It's not a proper override. That's okay. But just giving you an example because we're going to be using this in the future. And if you see any other tutorial series anywhere else or just programming in general, you are going to see classes and class inheritance. So let's go back to our first person character and let's go ahead and comment out some things that we just did. So we'll call this class inheritance. If I can't spell it right, don't laugh at me. Probably didn't. That's okay. So we're going to have a parent to a child relationship, right? So if I have a master and then I make a child blueprint of that, it's going to inherit the variables, the functions, the meshes, and everything else from that. And then I could override it as a child. So for some use cases for here, we'll call these use cases. And you can write this out on a notepad too if you want to, but just for the sake of the argument, we could use these for, let's say, our NPCs to enemies. Actually, we'll call this here players. Player character could be the master. Then it could read down to our NPCs, and then we can make enemies after that and friendlies. We could call them quest givers. They could be points of interest, something like that, as far as a character goes. So we kind of have options of our use cases of what class inheritance does. Another example would be we have a master item, and then we have a weapon, and then we have a sword, right? So we kind of trickle down with what these could be. And we're going to kind of go through this in all these tutorial series. And if you see this in other series, then you kind of recognize what we're talking about. So that's class inheritance. And just to kind of summarize what we went through since the beginning, we learned about our editor, how to install everything, our world here, how all of this works. We have our first person character. We wrote down most of our code in. I recommend saving this. Variables, what they do, events, functions, arrays, and loops. So after this, we'll go ahead and make a mini game with a simple obstacle course, maybe collect some coins, and then reach the end and say, game over. All right. See you then.